Charger season comes to a terrible conclusion, a crash and burn playoff game. The Texans survived. Justin Herbert did not. Houston's defense, 4 picks, 4 quarterback sacks, 11 hits on the quarterback, 7 pressures, 5 tackles for losses. They were unbelievable, and they got progressively stronger and stronger as the game wore on. Justin Herbert had no rhythm at all, no room to maneuver in the pocket. He had no protection whatsoever, and he made some bad decisions in the course of all the heat that he was under. There were, of course, the 4 picks. There were 3 critical drops. There were the 4 sacks. In one stretch, Justin Herbert was so out of sync, he was 1 for 9 throwing the football over 4 possessions in a row, and he finished 14 for 32. The Texans were unbelievable. They survived misery at the start of the game. I thought they were going to get blown out into the parking lot. They made so many sacks, so many mistakes early. They wound up, though, with 429 yards in offense. They blew a shotgun snap that C.J. Stroud picked up and turned into a 34-yard pass. They blew a near tackle in the end zone that Stroud busted a 27-yard run off the scramble. They had a 99-yard touchdown drive against the Chargers. And then at the end of the game, when they're trying to seal the deal, Joe Mixon had 11 carries in a 13-play series to get them a touchdown. Nico Collins had 7 catches for 122. Early in the game, they survived 3 turnovers, Houston did. They survived 6 major stupid penalties, and yet the Chargers could not capitalize on any of it because the Chargers were poor. Chargers wasted Ladd McConkey's 9-catch, 197-yard day, including that 86-yard touchdown heave. The Bolts had no run game. Bolts wide receivers, tight ends dropped passes. The offensive line was an utter failure. The running backs averaged only 2.8 yards per carry. And as I said, the O-line allowed that quarterback to get pounded, and there were 5 tackles for losses. Enough with the conversation about Harbaugh, change of culture, and success. Enough with the conversation about Greg Roman, brilliant play caller. Yeah, where the hell was your run game? Where was your max protection package to help your quarterback out who was getting knocked around? This was a complete team failure. At the end of the day, Justin Herbert, I still think, is one of the bright young quarterbacks in the league. He's thrown for more yards and more touchdowns than any quarterback in the first 5 years of their career, and yet he's never won a playoff game. He's taken a real bashing on social media from Charger fans, which I think is grossly unfair. This was a team failure from Harbaugh through Roman, Jesse Minter, and just the execution along the way. And at the end of the day, what did I say weeks upon weeks going towards the playoffs about the Chargers? Who have you beaten? And haven't beaten anybody. And in the 7 losses they got punched in the mouth 7 different times. So I think it's an ugly ending to the season. They probably need another good Joe Ortiz draft, maybe some adjustments in terms of free agency. I think there are veterans who are going to leave. Khalil Mack today talked about retirement, which would be a setback because he's been rock solid. Joey Bosa is still earning an awful lot of money, but I don't think he's the player they ever thought he would turn out to be. So at the end of the day, I come away from the Chargers' end of the season loss to Houston just really discouraged because I thought that Herbert had arrived as a star, and here we are, postseason play, which is a different breed of cat, John. Postseason play, they got punched in the mouth and they played really poorly, and the kid quarterback bore the brunt of all the beatings.
Yeah, it was awful. It was chargering. It was the Dean Spanos curse. It was everything we've talked about with the Chargers, and they got into the playoffs this year, and we're like excited about that. But, Herbert was like hitting Dixieline right in the hands. He kept dropping the ball. There was just a lot of things that went wrong in that game, like that 99-yard touchdown drive and that broken play that they turned into like a 35 or 40-yard pass. I mean, everything went wrong. It was just a colossal, cluster. And I don't know, I'm beginning to wonder, is Justin Herbert really as good as you think he is? Because leadership matters. Finding a way to win at the end of the game matters. And sure, he needs a better support cast. But, 0-2 in the playoffs.
End of the day, though, he had people in his face, people hitting him, people at his legs, nowhere to move, could not follow through on his passes, which I go back then to play calls. Where is Greg Roman in terms of max protection, keeping tight ends in to help block? Where is Greg Roman in terms of running sprint draws? Where's Greg Roman in terms of doing rollout stuff to get him away from the pressure and the crush? None of that happened during the course of the game, and the quarterback bore the brunt of everything Houston was throwing at him. Take nothing away from Houston. That defensive front and those edge rushers and that linebacker, Will Anderson, those guys were everywhere. But the Chargers front did nothing to help the kid quarterback. So lousy end of the season. Statistically, Herbert drew raves from a lot of people about being right on the doorstep of stardom. This is a setback, but I think it's more on the team than it is just on the quarterback.
Well, yeah, but the quarterback gets the credit and takes the blame, right? That's just all part of the deal for being a quarterback. But there were a lot of passes that Herbert threw that were over people's heads that were not accurate. Was he in duress, perhaps?
But, yeah, he was.
But the NFL quarterbacks, all of them are under duress at various points. Now, granted, yeah, the Chargers could have played better. I'm just saying, I don't think Justin Herbert is as good as we think he is. We seem to make an exception. Like, Herbert's good. The rest of the team is a problem. It's not Herbert's fault. Well, at some point, it's got to be Herbert's fault too.
Okay, Fans Forum chat box is open. Plain and simple. I'm on this street corner with my opinion. This was a collective team failure. My co-host is over there throwing rocks at the Charger quarterback. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with John? Better yet, what have you got to say? Do you think we can get NFL fans Forum, fill up the chat box right now. Give me an opinion. Don't you get me riled up today.
Hey,
okay.
Herbert's part of the collective, right? Yeah.
Okay. Crash and burn, Charger playoff game. Your gut feel, your reaction. Fans Forum chat box is open.